I read it out, the question. I still don't quite understand why this is considered the realm of suffering. This may be true for many, but not all. Some are born into well-off families, and some of those became wise enough to make themselves into better people who are strong enough to withstand the sorrows of the world. Yeah, that's a good question. The Buddha said this is a world of suffering. And the question says, no, the happiness around, the people who are born into well-off families, the people who are geniuses, the people who enjoy life. And why do you call this a realm of, a world of suffering? One of these very common sufferings that nobody can refute. Nobody can say, no, we don't have this kind of suffering. Let's get the common suffering that we have. Aging is suffering. Why is aging suffering? For people who are still young, you're a teenager, you're 21, 22, 23, and then you are 34, you get into a middle age, you're 45 and everything, and you seem to be quite healthy. So aging is not your problem, but particularly to young people. Once you pass 60, every day is different. I'm reminding you right now. Once you pass 60, I was able to jump and run quite fast. I could be jumping over the hurdle, over the fence, and very active. Now I can't do it like that. I used to be very active that even in the wintertime, a slippery road without salt on the snow road, and I slip, I can immediately balance myself. And even if I fell, I could get up immediately. If I fell now, somebody will have to help me. I may break my ankle because my bones would be more fragile than before. Because especially women, most women said because of bearing child, they lose the calcium. And if they break a bone, they cannot rejuvenate it again. So I don't know the person who's asked this question. You could be old, you could be young. But if you are old, you realize the suffering of aging. If you are young, you have not realized yet, which you will. Aging. Sickness is suffering. I'm sure you experience sickness. If you don't know the suffering arising from sickness, go to a hospital. Go to a sick children hospital. When you enter a sick children hospital, you see those kids, and they are quite active, and they are quite innocent and naive, and they're very lovable, but they suffer some of them from very serious sickness. Sickness that causes damage to the brain, terrible. When you visit sick children hospital, if your relatives, some relatives may be there, you feel very sorrowful. You feel sorry for these kids who have to go through all these things. And yet they're so lovable, they're so innocent. And if you visit nursing homes, some nursing homes accommodate OH pensioners who got strokes, You know, when a person gets stroke, at that moment when he got the stroke, he or she, people remind old people, dial 911. That's very important for you. Dial 911. But please remember, when the person who gets a stroke, he may have a loss of blood in his brain, a hemorrhage of blood. And then at that time, his brain function changes. He can't even move. How can he dial 911? If he got damage on the left brain, even his memory is gone immediately. He couldn't even remember 911. Every motion, your left brain is memory, language, phone book, how to dial the phone. So when you get old, everything is different. When you get sick, if you have a stroke, you cannot even dial a number. If you are a senior and you stay at home all by yourself, it's very dangerous for you. So that's sickness. Visit hospitals, then you know what sickness is all about. It does not matter how rich you are. It does not matter how rich you're born into a rich family. You still get sick. You're talking about being born into a rich family? You get sick even if you're born into a rich family. And then death. Everybody has to die. We yet have to solve this riddle of existence. Resolve this problem. Why is the Buddha regarded in history as the great personality? Because he's trying to resolve the riddle, the problem that is unfathomable, that has been a mystery for humans since the beginning of time. He's trying to resolve this problem, existence problem, and he find a way to resolve this. So death confronts everybody. When death is confronting you all the time, how can you be happy? I know friends who, a group of teenagers, 18, 19, they were in the parties. After the party, they said goodbye to each other. Then I got a friend and then they were driving home, and then one of my friends got into a car that is in front. It's 19 years old. A very good-looking young man, and very good at school, second year at university. So they went home, and then he looked so nice looking, and there was another girl at the back of the car saying, "Oh, take this car, over there it's crowded. Don't get in there, get in our car, we still have room for you." So this young man went in that car, and they drove home, and it's the second car that has a traumatic accident. He died, smashing head on. If he got into the front car, he wouldn't have met such an accident. There's all people say that fate or destiny. He was being called. He entered that car, that vehicle already. He was being called back from that vehicle and getting into the second car, which involved in an accident. The parents were also grief-stricken because they lost a son. And they were rich families. They were born in rich families. We don't know what happened tomorrow. Nobody can say, "I will not die within 1 year. Within this 1 year, I will not die." Nobody can say it. Death is any time. How far away our life is from death? Some people say 7 days. If you can't eat and you don't have any food, if you don't have any water for 10 days, no food for 10 days, no water for 7 days, you die. So we are away from death, say on a 7 day, 10 days, without food, without water. But the Buddha said, no. We're away from death only by a breath. You squeeze your nose, that would take your life away. You're so close to death. Death is suffering. What else? Aging, sickness, death. Suffering arising from the death of beloved ones. Your parents passed away, your brothers and sisters, your relatives, your friends. You went to the funeral, you're crying your eyes out, you're grief-stricken, you couldn't sleep for a few days because your best friend passed away, and you're so sorrowful. And that's a suffering. And also suffering arising from reacting or living with hated ones. You love your husband, your husband hates you, you want a divorce, you don't want to because you have 5 children, you want to keep the family unbroken, so you want to be bonded together, you hate each other but you don't want a divorce, or you don't want a divorce because he's going to share half of your properties, or he or she is going to share half of the properties. I just learned of a story that there were 2 couples, 40 years old, and multi-billionaires. They own a gold mine. They own a gold mine, and they were fighting every day, husband and wife fighting every day. They live in a $10 million home, and the renovation is $2 million, and everything is in gold. The toilet faucet, everything is in gold. The house amount to maybe $20 million. But they were fighting every day. And I'm not going to mention any names, otherwise I'll be in trouble. No names mentioned. And I have a worker who worked for them in repairing renovations. And they had a quarrel. And the wife threw a very object at the husband, blood coming all over from the eyes. Went to a hospital, and they fight. And one of them, the wife even, at one time the wife even used what do you call that? When the bear comes up, you spray that bear. What do you call that? Huh? Bear spray. Bear spray. And she used a bear spray to spray a non-bear. They were fighting, and she took out the spray. Whoa! His eyes are all black. It's all almost like blinded. They were fighting, and finally they say divorce. And the husband said, "I give this house to you. This house has cost 20 million, and I don't want to see you again." No. You have more than 20 million, so they can't divorce. They hate each other, but they have to see each other because she doesn't want to go with 20 million. Maybe 60? I don't know. You ask her. I'm not going to tell her your name. So, you're living with people you hate. You were born in a rich family. You are Epicurean. You have all the luxuries of life, but you are not happy. Materials would not make you happy. Money, fame, reputation will not make you happier. On the other hand, in most cases, it makes you poorer in your emotions. It makes you suffer. I'm young. I'm only 55, and I have 100 millions, 200 millions, and I'm sitting in an office. I'm hiring all these people, and I always have phone calls. All these ladies always call me up and say, "Where can I go? I want to go party with me?" Because all these girls will flock to you. You don't have to look for them. People will say, "I don't have a girlfriend." Yeah, wait until you become a billionaire. You will have. You don't have to look for them. Because you're poor, you don't have a girlfriend. When you have a lot of money, you get all these calls. They will call you up. So riches, materials, and born into a well-off families is not source of happiness. Okay, suffering arising from living with hated ones, and suffering arising from what? From the 5 skandhas, from your own emotional feelings. You're angry, you're jealous. When you feel sad, you cry, you yell, you curse. Imagine when you're cursing, you're using up a lot of energy. When you're crying, you're using up a lot of energy. You're unhappy. If you're born into underdeveloped countries, you may have to suffer a lot more. You're born into a well-developed country, you may be better. External suffering, internal sufferings. And you say, okay, yeah, we have sufferings, but we're strong enough that we withhold suffering, the sorrows of suffering. Yeah, that's good. That's what the Buddha's teaching is all about. Don't get involved with the suffering. Be detached from it, endure it, resolve it. So don't think that this is not a world of suffering. This is factually, for facts, a world of suffering. But the Buddha said that not giving you an image of pessimism, not asking you to be pessimistic. He's telling you there's sufferings, but we've got to change them. The Buddha knows there's suffering, aging and all that, but the Buddha said, I want to transcend this suffering. How do I get away from this suffering? Not for me, for all people, for all sentient beings. How do we get away from suffering? There must be methods to get away from suffering. Don't just bury yourself in suffering and accept that. Be very active and optimistic and aggressive in changing sufferings. Not just withholding the sorrows of suffering. Change your suffering. Not just for yourself, for all sentient beings. Remove their sufferings. That's the reason why we have compassion in Buddhism. What is compassion? Removing sufferings from sentient beings and giving them happiness. That's exactly what a Bodhisattva is practicing. Don't think about all this out individually for yourself. Try to do all this for all sentient beings. Your compassion, helping all others who are in suffering. When Mother Teresa toured poor hospitals in India to save people who were sick, she was in suffering. She didn't go through a mansion. She's going through all these dirty places to help people. She picked up dying patients, almost on the verge of dying patients from the streets. She picked up a sick person with leprosy. She picked up someone with TBs. And just went through all this. She's a Bodhisattva. So you can imagine, we Buddhists, we praise Roman Catholic. We praise Christian for the good they have done. They will be Buddha. It does not matter how you call them. You call them Mother Teresa, you call them a nun. Well, he's practicing the Buddha's ultimate compassionate deeds. He's a Buddha. She's a Bodhisattva. We won't say that. She's a Roman Catholic nun and I'm a Buddhist monk. She is a Buddha. A Buddha in a Roman Catholic gown, Roman Catholic form. Don't be opinionated by words, by language. Open your horizon. Extend your vistas of thinking. Well off of a good living, that's good enough. Well off so that you don't have to worry about money and that you can practice. That's good. I don't mean that you are attached to riches. I don't mean that you particularly, you like to be born into a rich family. Would that get into ego again? No, I don't mean that. I mean that well off enough that you don't have to worry about food. Yeah, you don't have to worry about an accommodation. Yeah, but this world is a world of suffering. If you're a teenager, if you are 16, 17 years old, and you have been growing up in a rosy garden, you haven't met any tragedies, any atrocities before, some people would say, and they haven't learned anything at all about life, and they were like juveniles being brought up in a nice rosy garden. They have not met any atrocities in life. They don't recognize suffering. I have people like that from lectures. They walk out 16, 17 years old. They walk out right after I started talking about suffering. They don't think so. They were driving a Ferrari and they live in a mansion of $10 million provided by parents. They are 16 years old. They haven't met any atrocities in life. They don't know what is suffering. I have friends like that too. However, there are teenagers who had gone through a lot of sufferings and they were able to transcend those sufferings to become very successful in life. Many, many examples in life. Can you please explain in more detail about the state of Nirvana? What is Nirvana? Nirvana, put it simply, I cannot explain it in detail. Nirvana is a state of cessation, like a Nirodha. Stopping what? Stopping reincarnation, stopping mental afflictions, stopping the cultivation of bad and good karmas, stopping all that, and get into a state of mind where you don't have that anymore. No more reincarnations, no more life and death, no more samsara. Put it simply, that's the state of nirvana. And also about the realms of reincarnation. When a person dies, what is reincarnation? Reincarnation believes in a previous lives, a present life, and if you still have to roll into the next life, there will be a next life. So it's a past, present, and future. When a person dies, he will reincarnate, he or she will reincarnate according to his own karmic energy into a next life. And what are the possibilities? The 6 possibilities. The 3 vicious possibilities and 3 unvicious or virtuous ones. The 3 vicious ones is, when a person dies, he goes immediately to hell as hell victims, suffering in hell. He will become an animal realm, become an animal. And he'll become a ghost in realm. Those are the 3 vicious realms. The 3 non-vicious realms, becoming human again, become celestial beings, devas, or gods, guardian angels, or they become asuras. You reincarnate not according to the wishes of God, the Creator, or you reincarnate because of your own endeavors, or because of what you have done. You created your own reincarnation. In other words, as I always mention, imagine that your life is a show, is a movie. You are your own director. You are your own actor. You act it out. But you can change your script. If your script has been bad, change it to be a better one. You act it accordingly. You always have a chance to change your script. It's not written firm for you. Whatever has been written cannot be rewritten. You carry it out. You recognize your destiny. However, whatever is going to happen, you can change. Nobody can do it for you. You yourself are your own creator. How do you ultimately remove all these things? Not just within this one lifetime. You have to look at the roots of the problem. The roots of the problem is not just what you see in this life. You don't have, when you resolve problems, you have to have a lot of dimensions. You have to look at the past, the present, and the future. So there are things that affect you because of your past, previous lives. So you have to change it. You have to make sure that you won't go into a next life again. So there's a lot of intricacies in learning this, that we all have to learn about it. But one thing for sure, Buddhism is not about blind faith. It's not about God will look after you. Even though you've done something wrong, you say, forgive me, God, and you'll be forgiven. The next time you do it again, say, forgive me, God, and you'll be forgiven. No. You really have to do it yourself. Yes, do you have a question?
Venerable, I'm interested more in the word suffering we use in English. And English is not my first language.
Yeah.
I'm coming from a culture, just for an example, in Arabic language,
Yes.
there are more than 50 words for camel. They all get translated to camel. The reason they have 50 different words because
Camels, animal? Yeah.
And because camel is very important in that culture. So in my culture, the same for love. We have hundreds and hundreds of the words, different words.
For love, yes.
For different words. And I have difficulty to translating them to English. They all get translated to love. How it's going to become translated to suffering? Well,
first of all, let's say what is suffering in the original word is dukkha. Dukkha is a Sanskrit word. Dukkha is not just suffering, unsatisfactoriness. So in other words, suffering is a common English. It's just unsatisfactoriness. In other words, there is something in life that is unsatisfactory, imperfect. There's no perfection. So these imperfections would include suffering, a lot of imperfections. So if you want to go to the perfect life, the divinity life, you have to get away from this dukkha, this suffering, these imperfections, get into this divine path. Then that's striving towards perfection. So in other words, the opposite of this suffering is going to perfection. It's imperfect. We're living in a world of unsatisfactoriness, which includes sufferings, which is a very broad term. And sometimes I think that we should not attach too much importance to the meaning of words. Words just help us to think. But words could have distortion. But we don't just blindly, literally take that word as its meaning. You really have to get research, get more into it. So you're from from Arabian country?
No, I'm from
Iran,
Iran.
yeah. Yeah. Iran is a country where Komari Java was born. One of the greatest translators of Sanskrit into Chinese. Knew 50 languages, even the languages of birds, of animals. And he learned the Chinese language in 3 years, and he mastered the language. This is a genius. And he translated a lot. It's from Iran. As a monk from Iran. He was a prince. Yeah. So there are people, that's about 1,100 years ago, approximately. So there are people, it does not matter your nationalities. Iran people, a monk, India, a Buddha, and in India, that's Mother Teresa, for example. Don't just blindly look at the expression. Look at what is behind the expression.